How's it going, everybody? New season, new character. The name is Hitokiri, and this frame check video will be a little different than usual. The new mechanic of the character doesn't really warrant a whole video, so I will be explaining some stuff about her at the end of the video, taking a look at the 4 new feats and all that. So first the numbers, then a few extra bits and pieces that might be interesting on her. She doesn't really have that many combos, but she has a special stance called Mugen-Ryu that lets her perform a few extra moves. The base light attack is 500 milliseconds from all sides, and hitting or whiffing that lets her enter said stance. And one of the moves is a combo light. It looks deceptively fast, but still is only 500 milliseconds. What it does have is hyper armor though, and that armor starts at 200 milliseconds into the move. The neutral heavy is 700 milliseconds from all sides, with armor starting at 400 milliseconds into it. She has an infinite chain of follow-up heavies that are all 800 milliseconds but do not have any armor on it. Another option is to charge your heavies. You can do that both from neutral as well as in chain. The neutral charged heavy is 1500 milliseconds with armor starting at 800 into the move. And the combo charged heavies are 1400 milliseconds with armor starting at 700 milliseconds. You are not limited to either uncharged or charged. You can also half charge or quarter charge or whatever you want to call it. This gives her variable timings on these attacks, which makes it difficult for the opponent to find the correct parry timing. The feint timings for these heavies fall in line with what we expected. It's the same as every other attack in the game. 400 milliseconds before impact, the feint happens. Obviously, because you have variable timings on the attack itself, you can have variable timings on the feints. The zone is 600 milliseconds, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. It acts as a combo finisher, so there's no chaining out of the zone attack. The forward dash heavy is 700 milliseconds and has an alright range, I'd say. It's nowhere near as good as Warden's Valiant Breakthrough or Shaman's Lunge heavies, but it's also not as bad as Black Prior's. It has a variable delay when into the dodge you can perform the move. It's from 300 to 500 milliseconds into the dodge. More on that move in a bit. And the running attack is also 700 milliseconds, nothing to write home about. The delay windows are special on this character. We're looking at a situation like JJ. Both heavy into light as well as light into light have a possible 400 millisecond window, which means that delaying the combo light, which is already deceptively fast like I mentioned before, is quite easy. Now for the bashes, as mentioned before, the Mugen-Ryu stance opens up some new moves. So after a light, heavy or combo heavy, you can either tap guard break or hold guard break. Tapping guard break performs a 500 millisecond kick, and holding it performs a 600 millisecond sweep. These two numbers don't mean all that much because your opponent sees the unblockable symbol throughout the whole charging process. The kick starts 500 milliseconds after your last move, and the sweep 900 milliseconds after your last move. These are by no means unreactable, but you will have to guess which one of the two is coming out. That is, if any of the two are coming out, because both of them can be hard feinted back into neutral. The kick can be feinted 100 to 300 milliseconds into it, and the sweep right until the moment it starts up. So your opponent will have seen quite a long unblockable symbol already. So how effective is that mix-up then? Most of you have probably guessed already. You dodge on kick timing and then convert into a roll once you realize it's going to be a sweep. The Hitokiri can make a hard read and do the forward dash heavy to punish the roll, It's nowhere near as effective or easy as on Warden, but it has a decent chance to catch the other person. The recoveries on the two bashes are quite long, with 900 milliseconds on the kick and 1000 on the sweep respectively. If you guess right, every character should have an easy time punishing the moves. It's not even close to Black Prior's bash recovery, so no need to go into a panic because a new character has a bash again. So calm down, lads. Like I said at the beginning, the Mugen-Ryu stance isn't really all that complicated or even noticeable for that matter, so I don't think it requires an additional explanation. It's pretty straightforward. With that said, let's move to her feats. She got 4 new ones. The tier 1 gives her uninterruptible stance and they shield while executing people. This only goes for attacks. You can still be bashed out of the execution though. But it is definitely something that can be used in the minion lane or in breach to force a ticket. A few things worth noting: the moment you start executing someone, your health bar disappears for your opponent. I don't know whether this is intended or a bug, but that's just how it is at the moment. Regarding the size of the shield, we did some math, so excuse us if it's wrong. Her HP should be 145. The tier 4 feat I attacked Avarice with does 200 damage, and it looks like he's now left with around 65 HP. This puts the shield at around 120 HP. This is a decent chunk of extra HP while executing, so unless you have the whole enemy team wailing on you, you can take quite some abuse. Should she get faster executions in the future, then this tier 1 feat goes up in value in my opinion. The tier 2 feat is a debuff you put on your opponent, which gives extra HP to the person executing and all allies around him. We tested with multiple different executions to see whether it is percentage based off the execution, but it turns out it's always a flat extra 50 HP to both the person executing and everyone around within the buff's effective range. Opinions on the feat itself differ a little. With coordinated teammates, this might be an amazing feat, but with pub idiots, not so much. Decide for yourself. The tier 3 is a passive that needs activating by executing an opponent. After that, you have a 20% damage reduction until your death. I've talked about how damage reduction works many times in the last few weeks, and because it doesn't stack, it's not such a great feat, especially since it's tier 3. And now for the tier 4 everyone was all up in arms about during the reveal stream. It's a 200 damage single target attack that can't be blocked or parried. But it can be dodged. Oh my, can it be dodged. The window is huge. When we tested it, I always thought I dodged way too early, but it never managed to catch me. And the other thing is the range, or rather lack of. The range is absolutely abysmal. But it is also confirmed on a few things. It can be set up by teammates with a guard break, and it's also a thing on revenge knockdowns out of stamina punishes in general. It's not the first one-shot kill tier 4 feat in the game, it's just the first that looks like an actual attack. So let's wait and see how it will pan out once we actually see the feat used in actual 4v4 gameplay and how often it can decide a fight, like a Fire Flask can, for example. One more thing worth mentioning might be the hitbox of her attacks, which are frankly abysmal. We had that complaint with Jungjun before and they fixed it, but I don't know. Looking at her animations, I don't think it ever was the goal for her to be a teamfighting menace with her attacks. So, don't expect to be hitting people left and right. You're lucky if you connect with the guy you're locked onto. And that about covers the new character. Her punish video will come out soon. They are not too complicated from what I can tell at the moment. I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.